Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica, Imperialis, and to today's video. Today is episode 114 of Adeptus Podcastus. First show on this channel in the year of 2021, though it's already been a very long 2 weeks since the last episode. It's been a bit of a quiet one, but it's been busy in its own way. Joining me as always is Remleiz from 40k Theories.
Hello everyone.
And our special guest this time is the breakout star of episode 100 of Adeptus Podcastus, realising that, well, Frederick Knudsen is more weird than anyone realised. Ladies, gentlemen, Xenos of all ages and everything in between, I give you the one, the only, the Fresh Sorcerer.
You can also just call me Fresh. Also, only come at me if you're legal, please. I don't need that kind of drama today.
Right.
As always, I bring only the classiest of humor and repartee to the podcast.
Yeah, it's good. And to be fair, I think after episode 100, you were kind of owed a bit of space just to talk to yourself, because you haven't actually been on the show on your own before.
I have not. Last time I was here was with the lovely crew of episode 100, where we all discovered that sexual deviancy is not just my wheelhouse. And before that, it was like, what, episode 6 with Carl?
Yeah, it was.
There was one later. There was one later where it was you and with Snap and Wib. It was for a live stream episode, wasn't it?
I don't remember that one, but I'll believe you.
I don't remember that one either, actually, because the only episode we ever did live was 27.
It was a live one we did. It was the live one we did on Alexis's channel.
I feel like episode 27 was just which was the live episode. I feel like that was just the three of us. I'll need to go back and check the records. It's been a long time. It's been nearly.
I'm pretty sure Fresh, Snipe and Wib, and I think maybe Thunder and White were there as well.
I don't remember that one, and I remember crashing a stream of Snipe and Wibs where they were like reading the Warhamer horror stories thing. And I just kind of kicked the door down and was like, "Hey, I'm here now, fuckers!" And it was very awkward, and then I left.
Fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I would have remembered being on Adeptus Podcastus after the first time, because that was when you guys were like just starting off, and you were like, "Hey, who's?"
Yeah, it was for the 1 year anniversary episode.
Yeah, it was. And you were just like, who can we get for the bottom of the barrel? And you scrounged up me and Carl.
And it became such an infamous episode that it was referenced for years afterwards. So...
I wouldn't know, honestly. I'm surprised. I don't... I thought you would want to forget that one, because from what I remember, it was...
Oh, I don't remember anything that was said on it. I just remembered that it is an infamous episode where I think a good portion of the episode was just spent cackling, which... It's kind of like when Carl went on Walk Time Radio. Well, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole pod of that thing, but I just remember everyone talking about it. It's like, it was just an absolute thing. I don't even know what to say besides a thing.
That doesn't surprise me. Carl is a colorful character.
Yeah, that's a word for it. And we'll use that word and leave it there, I think is... I
mean, Tack, do you not remember when Carl gate crashed an episode just randomly as well?
We weren't even filming at the time. We hadn't even started. And he just dropped into the call. And we literally, Alexa and I just screamed at you in chat, "Rem, record this." And it ended up being a video all in and of itself.
Christ.
I mean, it had to be. I mean, how often do you get gate crashed by Carl?
I mean, fair. Absolutely. Not saying we shouldn't have hit film and recorded it. It needed to be filmed for posterity. But
yeah, just as soon as Carl shows up anywhere, just pull out your fucking recording devices, like take a shitty, grainy picture of him like he's Bigfoot.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Big Carl.
But... in either event, in the news this week, not as much as usual. We talked about on the last episode the fact that GW had moved to a bi-weekly release schedule for January and February this year, presumably dealing with a mix of lockdowns, the change to the relationship of the UK and the EU, and various other factors, I assume, they moved to a 2-week release schedule. So our first release of the year, the Death Guard Codex and stuff, is actually not out yet. At least at the time of recording, it is not actually on shelves yet. But it will be very, very soon.
Doesn't it actually go on order tomorrow?
I think so, yeah. I think it's on order tomorrow and full release on the 23rd of January. I think it's right. Where you can get the new book, the new terrain piece, and the new hero amongst... Is that it? I think that's it. But I think, anyway. I'll need to double check. Should have checked this in advance, shouldn't I? Exactly what was in this week's pre-orders. Where is it?
Can I go on a rant about some of the pre-orders?
I'm gonna. Yeah, you can have it in 30 seconds. I'm just checking. Oh yeah, the new combat
30
patrol,
seconds, okay.
The supermassive combat patrol, where you get a full squad of Plague Marines and Typhus and a giant squad of Poxwalkers and another hero, which is absolutely freaking bananas, and some weird, cool artwork in the Super Mega Collection, as well as the Poxwalkers box and some stuff for Middle Earth. But we'll come back to that later. Remleiz, the floor is yours.
Whose idea was it to put the limited editions for the next Siege of Terra novel and the Alfaris novel to go on sale at the same bloody time? Obviously people are going to want both because, one's Siege of Terra and one's Alfaris. People are going to want those regardless.
Yep.
And so when people want to get them, you're going to have a really difficult chance of getting both. And you'll probably get one. If you get both, you're a very lucky bastard. Mm-hmm. What they should have done, they should have put one with those up on sale with the Dawn of Fire pre-order, because let's be honest, no one gives a fuck about that series. I'm sorry, I'm throwing shade there. So let me rephrase. No one gives a fuck of that in comparison to Siege of Terra and Alfarius.
Certainly in terms of limited editions, anyway.
Yeah, and Dawn of Fire is definitely the bottom tier of those 3 books. So it seems a bit weird that they would put the 2 high-profile releases on sale at the exact same time.
Yeah.
For pre-order. Especially when it's limited quantities.
Yeah, because obviously the Siege of Terror books are infamous for how quickly they sell. They go stupidly fast every single time. And getting your hands on one in the limited editions is maybe not pot luck, but certainly difficult. I haven't heard as much about the Primarch novel selling out that stupidly quickly, but I'm sure it does happen.
It depends on the Primarch in question. Some of the Primarchs, like, the quote-unquote, more boring ones, like Jagatai, Carl Ferris Manors. Yeah, the Perturabo and Lorgar ones, they were on sale in the store for, months after being initially available. The Lionel Johnson one sold out pretty fast, as did the Kurz one. The Angron one sold out, within an hour. But considering this is the Alfaris one, which is the quote-unquote origin story of Alfarius, that's bound to get... Quote. Yeah. That's going to draw a lot of attention regardless, just because it's the Alfarius origin story. Like, people are like, I don't know if I know this one. I want to read it, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I get the feeling that people will probably focus on Mortis first, and then I think what will happen is you'll get a crowd of people, and the priority will be everyone will bum rush to get Mortis. So I think the smart play is probably just to sacrifice getting Mortis and just go for Alfarius, because if you don't get Mortis, by the time you've failed to get Mortis and doubled round to get Alfarius, that will probably be gone too. So probably the smart play is to go for the Alfarius novel and just see what happens, because the Mortis is going to go that fast anyway.
Yeah.
But
I'll be able to let you guys know next episode if I get one or both or none.
You've got agents, you've got multiple attempts at it at least.
Anyway, that's my rant over for now.
Yeah, so that in essence was the Black Library orders for this week, and in between all of that, there is of course Gate of Bones, the second Dawn of Fire novel by Andy Clark, which is about Gathalamor, which will be an interesting read. I will pick it up since I'm not in a rush. I like the look of that limited edition, I will say. Actually, I'm looking at this sort of leather-bound style limited edition. I'm just going to drop into the chat in case that either of you haven't seen it. And it is actually really pretty. But having already bought the basic version of the original Dawn of Fire, I don't know if I really want to go out of my way to get this fancy edition. Nice as it is, though, it is a very nice one. And it contains a bonus short story as well.
As did the Avenging Sun one, which I did manage to actually get around to finish reading Avenging Sun in the last couple of weeks. And I have to admit, yeah, you were right. It does really pick up out by the end of it, I will admit.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one later, I think.
Yeah.
We'll just make sure.
I can tell you about the short story in that one as well.
Sounds like a plan. So yeah, Black Library's big thing at the minute is obviously, as we mentioned, Mortis with Gate of Bones and the Alfarius novel in various positions behind that, depending on how much you value your Primarchs. So Alfarius wins by miles. But the other upcoming release is for Forge World with the Contakar Terminators of the Night Lords and the Fear Cats of Necro.
House Escher. Yeah.
And we've discussed both of these before, but we get a proper closer look at the Contakar. And someone pointed this out. Apparently the guy holding like a hook in their hand is actually just holding a chainsword backwards. It's not actually like a special hook hand. It's just they're holding their chainsword backwards, apparently. But either way, they still look good with their heavy flamers and chain blades. And they can go over to Volkite, which I think is new information that they can take.
I like the leader's Power Claw. Like literally, it's a combination of Power Fist and Lightning Claw.
Yeah, it's called
which is awesome.
Yeah, it's called an Eschaton Power Claw, and it's got interesting that the leader's called a Dissident because obviously the Contakar are like the worst of the worst in the Legion. They are some of the nasty criminals, and it is a really nice design.
Though I am curious as to why we're getting the Contakar and not the Atramentar.
Yeah, that's been a thing since before ever since they revealed the Contakar all the way back. Is why are we not getting the Atramentar? Because they're the Atramentar. They're really
cool.
That model is really subtle with telling you what the Night Lords are all about, isn't it? I mean, like if it's not the meat hooks add a very that's very artsy. It's very subtle with showing what these guys are about. I love the skin that's hanging off of the heavy flamer, like bubble gum.
Well, do you remember the Leviathan Dreadnought, whose idea of subtle was, let's just strap an entire corpse to the shell and see what happens?
I mean, the Dreadnoughts, they got a corpse inside of them. You need a corpse outside. It's to show what they're all about.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why they've gone for the Contakar rather than the Atramentar, because it's easier to play into the Night Lord's sort of terror troop, almost horror aesthetic with these crazy psychotic criminal elites, rather than the heavily regimented, heavily trained elite guardians of the Primarch. Maybe that's why they did it.
I'm kind of surprised because, like, I remember Sevatar had like his gauntlets were like painted red because he'd apparently done something like evil and fucked up, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna kill you whenever I want because I'm Conrad Kurz and I've got brain rot. And I'm surprised that these guys don't got the red hand thing going on. Is that ever like I mean, I guess you could like paint it on if you wanted, but I'm just kind of surprised that they didn't go with like that angle of like, oh, these guys are so bad that Conrad Kurz is going to kill them at some point, I guess.
Yeah, that'd have been really good. Though,
wasn't there a bit of lore like Warhammer community posts saying that what they basically do is basically hunt down those who are deemed as being too incompetent for the Legion. So like, hey, we're just here to chat, crack knuckles, kind of thing.
Right, they're that kind of Terminator. I see.
How much of a fuck up do you have to be to have the Night Lords go like, okay, you're too stupid. We're going to kill you now.
Yeah, here is from the other article. The Contakar are often dispatched to wrest command from lesser Night Lord leaders who their commanders considered unfit to prosecute the Legion's objectives.
Right.
How much of a fuck up do you have to be to not do the Night Lord thing of like, oh, let's just fucking scream at people and start killing people, and let's just spook people because
I thought the screaming was Emperor's Children's thing. Ew.
fucking like. No, I remember reading like one thing where like a Night Lord was on a ship bridge and he turned his Vox on his helmet all the way up and just like screamed.
I know. I was just referring more to the Emperor's Children Doom Siren, you know.
I mean, yeah, but like
the
Emperor's Children, like what the fuck have they been doing, you know?
Getting high.
Well, there you go. Like that's what they've been doing. The whole fucking Horus Heresy, I guess.
But it must be interesting just thinking about it logistically. Like, if they're sent in as the legionaries feel that their commander is not meeting the legion's objectives, well, that's interesting because maybe not obviously, but the Night Lord's population changed over time. Like, when it was originally a thing, like the 8th before Kurz, it was criminals, terror troops, all that kind of thing. They were the internal horror show of the Imperium. Then Kurz got his hands on it, and Kurz sort of tried to veer away from that. Like, terror tactics, sure, but not wearing the flayed skin of your enemies type of terror tactics. And then over time, after
it was something along the lines like it was something along the lines of like fear should be the method, not the goal.
Yeah, and then eventually after Kurz left Nostromo, it is Nostromo, right? Yeah.
Nostromo,
It is Nostromo. Sorry, I'm second guessing myself there because it. But after he left Nostromo, the population that were being sent as recruits changed because the criminal gang got back into power and started controlling the Astartes recruitment, and so the vicious, violent criminals of Nostromo became the main line of the Legion, and so those older guard commanders under Kurz, who were used to, okay, we'll do this slightly terrifying thing, but it's just a ways to an end, versus the legionaries who are now all in on the evil, might just say to the conscript, they're too nice, get rid of them. I don't know. Interesting.
Fucking Night Lords.
Night Lords indeed. The other Space Marine...
I need to order some, by the way. Because they went on pre-order, didn't they?
Who did? Sorry, I missed that.
The Conch card, they went on pre-order today, didn't they?
Yeah, alongside the Fear Cats, yeah.
Yeah. I need to order some later.
Yeah, because you've got your slow-ticking Night Lord project on the go, haven't you?
Yeah.
But if you're more of a fan of modern Space Marines, in terms of the tabletop, well, sadly, there are no Primaris Marines coming your way. Yes, you've got the Death Guard, but if you're a fan of Loyalist Marines then, let's have a chat about the Emperor's Spears, who are getting a big focus in an Index Astartes article as part of this month's White Dwarf.
Yeah, I actually tweeted ADB about this because there was an Index Astartes article for the Emperor's Spears in the special edition of the novel, and I asked if there was going to be anything different or if it was going to be the same, and apparently not only does it have actual game rules included, but it's actually going to be streamlined with some stuff added or trimmed down, if I recall correctly, as well. So it will be subtly different from the version in the actual special edition.
Yeah, it talks about the idea of the relationship between Nematon, which is their homeworld, and the Space Marines. Because you hear all the time about different relationships that Space Marines have to their world and the indigenous population of those worlds. For example, on Fenris, the Space Wolves are the mythical Sky Warriors. On Baal and Ultramar, it is common for there to be recruitment trials where families will send their best and brightest to join the ranks of the Astartes. And then you have Nematon. And I'm just going to quote here. To the barbarians, service in the God Emperor's armies is no honour to be fought for. It is a death sentence. Those who ascend to the heavens must abandon their natural lives in order to live as inhuman angels. Space Marines on Nematon are not seen as warriors from the clan's return to honour their bloodlines, but as the spirits of children lost to the whims of fate, reshaped past their humanity. They are not heroes to be celebrated, but ghosts to be mourned.
Yeah, they actually talk about this in quite good detail in the actual novel as well, because there's a scene where because a good chunk of the book's actually from the perspective of a mentor Marine.
Yes,
And there's a scene, where like they go like into like one of the barbarian tents or whatever. But as they're going through the village, you got the mothers hiding away their sons or covering their children's eyes, so, like don't look upon them. But like little girls, they're fine; they can be ignored because they don't take the girls; they only take the boys. And they're like, I'll try to remember if they spit on the ground or salt the ground before them to try and ward them away. It's like go away, evil spirit kind of thing. Oh, blah.
Yeah,
I kind of wish we had more of that kind of thing, because it adds depth to Space Marines and the people that they recruit from, kind of, because like I've always kind of been against the idea of like idolizing Space Marines, seeing them as like, oh, they're big heroes, they're something you should like try to like emulate and become, because like, oh, don't you want to be a 7-foot tall spaceman in the power armor? But it's like, no, because I mean, you become an inhuman automaton. You become a living weapon. And I think it's more interesting when we have people not wanting that to happen, because why would you? Why would you want that for your kids,
I think it would depend on the culture in question, because like if you come from like say like a warrior culture that's more akin to like say the ancient Spartans, then I can totally see why they would believe it to be a great honor. It's like, hey, we're a civilization of warriors, and these are the best warriors where you get to fight an unending war. Wouldn't you want to have that kids go and live in Valhalla kind of thing?
We're getting our mythologies a bit mixed up there between Sparta and
Valhalla,
Valhalla, but yes, I see your point.
Okay, imagine Spartan Vikings. There you go. That's an idea for a Space chapter. Spartan
Vikings.
Vikings.
I could see 40k just being like, oh, what if we mix the Spartans and the Vikings? Fuck it, Minotaur Space Wolves, the Mina Wolves. The Space Taurs.
But I think that idea, in terms of how the Space Marines are seen, is actually, I feel like it is more explored in terms of how the Space Marines come to view themselves. I can't cite a source on it, but I feel like I've read more than once reflections where the Space Marine in question sort of looks back on who they used to be, what they used to be, and they realise that they've become both more and somehow less in their ascension to essentially what is to the indigenous populations godhood. It's, in essence, they're gods of war in the eyes of many, and yeah.
I thought, like, I've read before that like the hypno indoctrination erases like the memories of a Space Marine's life before. But I don't know if that's just like inconsistent. I think I've read.
I'm pretty sure that's been. I think that's been retconned for it to being like chapter specific, because some chapters are like very close to their communities. Like for example, like Space Wolves and the Salamanders are very close to their communities in regards to, remembering who they were in their past lives.
Yeah, the Space Wolves still carry over their old tribal grudges from the tribes to the Wolves. The Ragnar Blackmane novels make that very clear.
Yeah. Whereas the Nova Marines, I think it's Nova Marines from Plague War, like, their population is like a tribal hunter-gatherer society, but when they're brought into the chapter, the hypno-indoctrination is trying to make them think, right, this is what you're meant to think like. You're meant to think like you're from Ultramar. You're meant to think like you're from a crag. You have to think like an Ultramarine kind of thing, as opposed to being like a caveman.
Well, I mean, if you're recruiting from Ultramar, you're not going to be like fucking a caveman. You're going to be a cosplaying Roman in space, essentially. So, like, I can get that. But I don't know. I've always just like read that like it seems to like vary, and I guess it could just be chapter specific, but I've always just found that to be like inconsistent sometimes. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's more interesting to play it from an angle of people not necessarily wanting this for their children.
Yeah, and ADB agrees with you. I remember him tweeting this. Tweeting about exactly this little snippet and talking about how it is nice to see the Space Marines as not just the good guys in some ways. I can't remember the exact phrasing.
I mean, the Imperium was never supposed to be the good guys. They're just human. So
we're disconnected.
That's why we support them, because, we're human, the Imperium's human. And sometimes I feel like the writers for 40k sometimes forget that the Imperium isn't supposed to be the good guys.
It's difficult because obviously you want to write a character or a faction so that the reader gets behind them or hates them, as the case may be. And so often in particularly Guard stories, I think, you find that elements of the Imperium, such as the Inquisition or the Mechanicus or even the Astartes, are played off as antagonistic forces to make the Guard or the individual in question better and like someone you want to get behind. I'm not a writer, so I can imagine it's a hard balance to strike.
I mean, there's also like the business perspective of like, well, if we try to accurately portray what life in the Imperial Guard or a Space Marine or in the Inquisition would probably be like, if you have like the outlook of you're expendable and your life means nothing, the Imperium means everything, species first, that kind of thing, it would probably not be a very pleasant read for people. And
I'm pretty sure you just described the novel 15 hours. Which was actually a good novel, in fairness, because it was just so damn tragic.
It wouldn't be a consistently popular tone to set for every book. I agree with that.
Yeah, and it's like, people want different things from, what they read and whatnot. I am personally, I like when it's like portrayed as like kind of tragic and awful and miserable, because it's 40k. It's supposed to be the worst possible future for humanity that you could imagine. But not everybody wants to, read about that. Some people just want to read about
Caiaphas Cain.
Yeah, some people want to read about Caiaphas Cain, which are fine enough books. I've only read a few Caiaphas Cain books, but they've been okay, I guess.
I've just ordered a Caiaphas Cain book. Sorry, finish your point.
Oh, no. We can't tell who's talking because we're not sitting around a table. So
yeah. The podcast art, I'm afraid, has lied to you. There is no table with mugs and floating microphones.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The art lied to you.
Speak for yourself.
Just like the Imperium.
But I've actually gone on a purchasing spree. There was a comment on the last episode sort of saying how out of touch I was with modern lore. And whilst I'm not entirely out of touch, I will agree that I've certainly done a lot less reading than I would have liked to, partly because half the books I ordered got stuck and never arrived after the November lockdown, which was lovely. But
yeah, the fucking plague happened. Like, who can blame you?
But I did go on Black Library over the weekend and I put in a big order. So I've ordered Darkness in the Blood, again. Covens of Blood, again. I've ordered a Caiaphas Cain book. The zombie plague Caiaphas Cain book. I think it's I want to say it's called No Good Men, but I know that's wrong. And I've also ordered a collection of 40k shorts, sort of the equivalent to Gods and Mortals, Myths and Revenants, Oaths and Conquest, that sort of thing. One of the short 40k sets, as well as one of the Gotrek books, Ghoul Slayer, which is like the AOS version of Gotrek.
Yeah.
And I think I ordered one other, and I might need to go and order Dawn of Fire 2 when that comes out in regular release, because I'm not going to rush to get the limited edition, as I said earlier in the show.
I mean, you could always order the Beast Arises complete bundle for £280.
Jesus, fuck, man.
But then again, the War of the Beast is so memed and so discussed that I feel like I know almost the entire plot beats of the entire thing without having to read it.
And the bundle apparently is all the novels in both ebook and in audiobook form, so that's not so bad, I suppose, price-wise.
I mean, yeah, it's because actually when I was ordering, like, the ebook costs about the same as the hardback, paperback copy. But the audiobook costs like 30 quid, nearly. Which I understand why it does, because it's a lot of hours put into recording.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, it was like, do I want to spend £9 or do I want to spend £30? tricky decision considering I'm most comfortable with a book in my lap. Yeah, I'm just going to buy the regular, I think.
I have so much reading to catch up on if I want to be up to date with what you kids are reading and shit. God, there is just so fucking much that I'm just like, nah, fuck it. I'll read a wiki article, or I'll hear Rem go on about it, and then it's like, okay, cool, I have what I need from this. Fuck it.
Yeah, there has been a bit. And I actually messaged Rem while I was ordering, saying, "Have you read this? No? Okay, good. I'll order it." Just to make sure that everything I was reading, I could then at least bring to the table for the show as well. Because as good as a lot of the books Rem's read are, I also want to be able to contribute to this program and this episode and this podcast. So I sort of was weighing up. The other one I bought was Beastgrave. That was it. I bought the Beastgrave book. No, Darkasm. That's the one I bought. Yeah, so plenty coming for my bookshelf soon enough, which will be good, because I'm long overdue reading Darkness in the Blood. Long overdue. But jumping back to the Emperor's Spears, as Rem sort of hinted at earlier, this White Dwarf is actually coming with essentially a full codex supplement for them as well. Well, a mini one. A unique chapter tactic, unique relics, unique warlord traits, and a couple of unique stratagems. And their chapter tactic is +1 to advance and charge rolls, and they get +1 hit when they roll an unmodified 6 in melee, if they have charged, been charged, or performed a heroic intervention. So in the first round of combat, each natural 6 to hit counts as 2 hits instead of 1, which is kind of useful, I think. It's certainly not on the same level as the Death Guard's new strategy, which is we have a passive aura of -1 toughness across the entire board. Have fun.
Oof.
Well, I say that. What it is each Death Guard unit with the particular tactic is given an aura effect of -1 toughness around it. It starts off at like 1 inch or 3 inches, and then as the game goes on, it gets wider and wider and wider. So if you just cover the board with your infantry by advancing, you basically have an entire board coverage of your entire opponent's army has -1 toughness now. Have fun. Now your bolters are wounding your fellow Space Marines on 3s, and because you're all toughness 5, because you're Nurgle, they're wounding you back on 5s. You're going to have, well, is that how it works? I think so. But either way, you're going to have a much easier time cutting through them than they are through you, is kind of the base point I'm making.
Fair enough.
Imagine playing Adeptus Astartes. Imagine not playing Chaos Space Marines, this post made by Abaddon Gang.
Yes, of course. The secondary reason for your legendary status of episode 100 was I just want to have a normal conversation about Chaos Space Marines, that I can't have one because everyone's.
Oh no! We can get to that later. I'm fine going through this. I can't even remember what I wanted to talk about with Chaos Space Marines now, if I'm entirely honest.
I mean, it has been over 6 months.
Don't remind
me. All I can remember is that I was there the day Frederick Knudsen slew the Fresh Sorcerer.
Well, if I'm slain, how am I here?
Resurrection.
No, Necron.
You don't need to be Necron.
I guess Chaos can bring people back to life. Thanks, Dawn of War.
I mean, it worked for Cyrene Valanchian, didn't it?
It worked for Karn.
Okay, Karn is like, he's got Korn being like, ooh, I like your fucking business, you naughty little boy. Continue to drown me in the sauce.
Could you read that any more weird?
I'm pretty sure he could.
I could, but I'm not gonna yet because we're past that bit now.
Yeah.
The moment has passed.
Yeah, for the sake of my students, it's probably for the best.
Well,
saucy.
I didn't know that your students would
some of them probably do watch this show, and some of them are 12.
I mean, if they're 12, they'll just hear the word sauce. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
Yeah, just don't follow that train of thought to its logical, anywhere near its logical or illogical conclusion.
Who doesn't love ketchup?
I mean, blood. Blood for the blood god.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Rem, Avenging Sun, talk.
Oh, we're on to that already.
Well,
Okay.
I'm just trying to change. I'm just changing the damn subject.
Desperate gear shifting.
I mean,
Yeah,
there is stuff for Orlok we could talk about, but I'm just trying to desperately change the subject.
Now I can talk about the short story that was included in the special edition.
Go for it.
So basically, this one takes place like long before the events of the novel, because the Inquisitor in the novel, I've forgotten his name. It's been about an hour since I read the book. It's like from when he was like an acolyte to another Inquisitor, but like the retinue was like the same retinue, but with some other guys on top of it as well. Like there was also like a Hive Ganger and a Sister of Science in the retinue, and they're basically hunting down. Well, they've caught like a really powerful Alpha grade Psyker, and they're trying to find where the big silver Necron cube thing that they used in Avenging Sun. They're trying to find that basically, and so he performs an interrogation on her. But because of his powers, the only way he can actually enter another person's mind is if they're in intense amounts of pain. So it's like, okay, we're time to torture you. Like, let's get the pliers. Let's get, let's pull your toenails out, that kind of thing. Gruesome, I know. And it basically details how they would go and get the big cube, resulting in pretty much everyone dying except for, the Inquisitor's retinue in the actual novel. That's pretty much basically it. The Inquisitor's Inquisitor boss is like, oh yeah, so you saw how I'm going to die as well. Yeah. Oh well, never mind.
So essentially it's, here's how we got the MacGuffin that we use in the big story later.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, fair enough.
It wasn't a bad short story, in fairness.
No, and certainly sometimes, I remember last episode we were talking about with Astaroth, that there can be some dodgy shorts tacked on the end of...
Yeah, it didn't feel like a rehash of the actual story. This one actually, had some actual relevance. It wasn't just, hey, a Blood Angel's fallen to the Black Rage. Better go find him.
Again.
Wah, wah.
Quite so. But good. And I'm glad that you maybe not came around to the novel, but I'm glad that you were able to appreciate it toward the end, and it wasn't just a slog to finish off. Yeah,
the last quarter of the book really did improve in my eyes. Yeah, it really did.
Good. Yeah, I mean, obviously, having read it, I know how it tries to tie everything together, and it mostly does. So I'm glad that it wasn't just me who felt that way about it, which is good. Yeah, we've already discussed it in full before. Is the episode with Zoran? So I think it was
a few episodes ago. Yeah,
204 was when we discussed it in full. If you want to go back and check that spoiler-laden episode.
Man, I am just realizing I should have read up on what's going on with 40K so I could have more to contribute, but I was like, nah, it'll be fine. It's fine. And now here we are. It's like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
So,
I mean, at least you turned up, so that's all we can ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, what the book is it's the sort of origin story of the Indomitus Crusade, the big one that Gilliman.
Oh, they got around to that because I remember the Indomitus Crusade, and it's like the Indomitus Crusade's happening 100 years later. Okay, it's done.
Yeah, so they're moving around Dark Imperium and Plague War to be in the middle of it rather than the end of it, for one thing. But it sort of details it talks a little bit about the Siege of Terror, the second one, the demon one, not the Horus Heresy one.
I imagine.
And sort of a little bit of getting an insight into how the Imperium set up for the Indomitus Crusade and some of the disparate elements of the galaxy that came together to form it. Including Inquisitors, Admirals, even the lowly Scribes of Terror chipping in their own useless ways to try and get something done for Gilliman, whether he intended it or not. and it all culminates in Makorta Sound, the first major battle of the Crusade, where the Imperium takes on the Blood Crusade, I want to say.
A lot of crusades in 40k. It's hard to keep track of them all. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly which one this one was. It was one of the Cornate conquests, and there's various ship battles, and they're basically trying to stop the. I keep wanting to give it its name. I can't remember it. The Cornate forces from using this device, comet, object, stellar thing to essentially drag the Great Rift behind it and open up the Great Rift wider. They talk through Abaddon's plan is essentially to cut off the Imperium and using these fleets and these ideas and this object to sort of drag the Great Rift over a certain area and cut the Imperium off, and cut Terra off so that it can't launch a response, and then Terra's his for the taking. In the conversations with Gillen where he goes through Abaddon's plan is very, very good. It's probably the second or third best conversation in the book. And yeah.
I just liked how when Gillen was explaining his plan to Messinius and that, and had the big map of the galaxy, and it's like, this is the Eye of Terror. This is where the Eldari Homeworld's world. I bet but you already know that. And Messinius was like, I did not know that.
Yeah,
no one knew that in the Imperium today. It's like, well, we knew that in 30k, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's like, goddamn, you people are dumb.
Yeah, and it is a lovely, sometimes a reflection of seeing Gilliman gets out of his transport to walk to the gates of the palace, and he's absolutely mobbed by these adoring citizens, where the Astartes are literally fighting and killing to keep them at arm's length. And Gilliman's not looking down in any form of like respect or honor or even pity. It's just, really? It's just disdain and disappointment, or just written across his face, because he's just sick of what the Imperium is now, and he's only been back 10 minutes.
I wish we had more stuff like that. Just Gilliman being like, God fucking damn it, you people. What the fuck?
And the best
part the fuck have I done?
And the best part is no single page in the book is written from Gilliman's perspective, and they still pull it off. Sorry, Rob.
I just find it funny in regards to the whole state of 40k in general. It's like, Gilliman's like, right, I know how important the ecclesiarchy is. I don't like the bloody ecclesiarchy. Do you idiots even realise that it's fucking all your holy texts were penned by fucking Lorgar? But I have to keep you around because I have no fucking choice. Pretty much.
Fucking... No, the only Dark Imperium thing I read was just immediately after the Indominus Crusade, and Gilliman is like, wow, the Custodes are fucking bigger assholes than they ever were in 30k now, and the his ecclesiarchal representative is like, hey, you're divine, aren't you? No. Oh, well, your denial of it is divine.
Prove that you're divine.
And Gilliman's is like, I want to crush your head like a grape. I thought that man would end up being a traitor of some sort. Because...
No, this is just the Imperium.
Yeah, I know. It's...
I did like it how at the end of Plague War, like, Gilliman just gave Matthew a proper chewing out. That was the best thing about that entire book.
Yeah, you made your feelings on Plague War abundantly clear. That it was like, it sucked, aside from that one rant. Pretty much your feelings on the matter. Yeah, it'll be interesting when I've already forgotten its name. Godbreaker. No, Godblight. Not Godbreaker. Godbreaker's the bloody Gargant from Hell's Reach. Oops.
I thought Godbreaker was the Thunderhammer used by Gabriel Angelos.
No, that's God Splitter.
Godbreaker got split tomato.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucking reused fucking words in this setting, isn't there? It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, there is.
It's like, hey, here's 2 Space Marine chapters. Here's the Scythes of the Emperor, and here's the Emperor's Scythes. And they are 2 separate, distinct chapters, remember? Because one's yellow and black and the other's purple.
And then you have the Emperor's Spears, whose novel is called Spears of the Emperor, but they're called the Emperor's Spears. And I swear to whatever that I probably called them the Spears of the Emperor at least once before realising that they were actually called the Emperor's Spears.
And then there's the Emperor's Children, and they aren't even in the Imperium, but they're just sassy little assholes, aren't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
They still use their heresy era battle cry. They still use their battle cry of Children of the Emperor, death to his foes.
I wouldn't doubt that they did that, or...
Just as a piss take.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how the word bearers like to write Codex Astartes passages in things that they go around in just to make people mad.
Yeah, it's a complicated mess at the best of times, and to be fair, it kind of works that way. Though, speaking of, this is a loose segue, but my rant from the week is actually not at GW. Did either of you see The Guardian this week?
No, because I don't read British tabloids.
And no, because I have taste.
Well, there was an article in, I think it was The Observer, which is owned by The Guardian, I think. I might have that right. It's something to do with The Guardian, where they were talking about GW's commercial success, and essentially just whinging about how expensive the hobby is, saying that paints cost £10 a pot and stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, we're not there yet, are we? But it just a lot. I remember a few people talking about how poorly written it was in terms of journalism. It's just absolutely just not good.
The Guardian doing poorly written journalism. Say it ain't so.
I mean, for fuck's sake, they're just like, I don't like that 40k is an expensive hobby. It's like, have you been living under a fucking rock?
Yeah, and then there was another...
Technically, it's cheaper than Lego.
Yeah, and there was another article later in the week from another source, which people were saying, okay, yeah, that's a bit more of a fair analysis this time. I can't remember the source.
Was that the BBC one?
I think it was the BBC talking about like GW managing to keep like strong sales and stuff going through lockdown and being essentially one of the most successful businesses out of the entire pandemic in terms of, raw growth and staying power. But hey, GW's in the mainstream media. That's got to count for something. It will certainly help get name recognition out there when they start.
But no, guys, GW's been failing. GW's been failing forever. It's gonna die at any moment.
Yeah.
40k and Lord of the Rings and it's gone. It's gonna die.
Yeah, you certainly go back 4 or 5 years where everyone was saying GW is doomed. It's all going to be over soon. I don't know why you're still.
Was that at the same time when they cancelled Fantasy as well?
I think it was around the time of Sigmar, when Sigmar was like, GW is doomed. It's all over. They're going to be gone soon. Why are you even?
And then Age of Sigmar ended up selling like gangbusters.
Correction. The management changed. They started to give a toss about Sigmar and actually wrote half decent lore. I'm looking at you, Gathering Storm in the end times. And then people realised it was actually good and it started selling and the company kind of turned around. Also, one thing that they massively changed, they started talking to us. Warhammer community became a thing.
Well, it's like, yeah, fucking like the management happened, or the management change rather happened.
Yeah.
And it was like, they got rid of the fucking guy who,
Kirby.
like, what Forbes said was, like, the worst motherfucker in, like, business because he's so fucking stupid and out of touch. And it's like, well, when you have, like, people that suddenly adopt advertisement and business practices that other businesses have been doing for, like, the past 10, 20 years, suddenly you don't look like an out-of-touch moron. You look like you're able to do things properly. Oh, God.
Yeah, but it has been good to see GW succeed. As much as you might think that that's just corporate shilling, and it isn't, it is genuinely good to see that the company's doing well, because that means that the hobby's doing well, and that means more people are in the hobby, people are able to invest and feel that they can invest their time and money into the hobby, even in difficult circumstances such as these. It is good to see.
Yeah. I'm going to resist every urge I can to continue to make fun of the people that hate the fact that that's happening. Because you don't need that on this podcast, maybe.
Yeah, I get the feeling that it whilst it would be a worthy rant, it would also probably be a lot of retreading old ground.
Probably.
But yes, that was my sort of mini rant for the week, was just kind of just poke fun at how like an article was written talking about how GW paints a £10 a pot and the basic model starts at £22. No, more than that. That actually that is what a basic model starts at these days. Most character figures are about 18-20 quid now. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking now.
They only cost that much if you don't go through the Legends collection thing. You know, where it's like $7.99 for a fucking librarian instead of 25 quid.
Goddamn. Now you mentioned fucking Gathering Storm and the End Times, and I am trying to find out what is like a bigger debacle, in what ways, you know? I will say this about Gathering Storm. It started off well and then just collapsed. Oh, Gathering Storm is so fucking hilarious because...
Yeah, because Fall of Cadia was generally considered not bad. Sorry, I cut you off.
Fall of Cadia was a good start. I mean, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but as a start of a trilogy, it was a good starting point.
It advanced the fucking setting.
Exactly. Then you had like Fracture of Beotan, which kind of like meandered, and then you had Rise of the Prime, which kind of like, oh shit, we go rush it all out the door, go, go, go.
Yeah, it's like, right, we're going to bring a Primarch back, everybody, and that's just the first third.
God.
Yeah.
No, it's like they handled it well with the Fall of Cadia and everything going forward, because like it's actually advancing the setting after the 20 plus years of stagnation of basically nothing changing.
I mean, in fairness, it was pretty much just a rehash of a plot from 3rd edition, which like then he turned around and said, yeah, that never happened.
Hey, like if it works, it works, you know?
And it
worked. The 3rd edition version, that was when because in the 3rd edition version, that was when Abaddon killed Eldrad.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they retcon that, and it's like, he did not actually kill Eldrad. He is still fine. Also, Abaddon has his arms. God.
Yeah.
I love Gathering Storm, if only because it is such a good example of why you absolutely do not have a pre-planned thing for what you would like to happen, but at the same time be like, oh, the community is going to decide how this goes. Because you know how that went, right?
Yeah, it's like, certainly if you want to make earth-shattering decisions about the fate of your universe and where it's going, where the bad guys winning is the end of the world as we know it, and then you're going to leave that up to literally dice?
Oh! Wasn't there something like that happened in regards to Warhammer Fantasy? Like, GameWorks were like, GW were banking on Chaos winning, and it turns out the fans voted for the Orcs or something.
No. Okay, so what happened, right? Okay, so Gathering Storm is where, like, Archaon the Everchosen and Crom and, you know, all of they started, like, pumping out original characters, right? Like, a lot of characters, I think, were introduced during Gathering Storm. I think Ungrim Iron Fist and just a bunch of people were like introduced.
We're talking about the same Gathering Storm, because I thought Gathering Storm was the 40k one.
No, wait, I'm talking about Storm of Chaos. Fuck.
I'm
a fool. I am a fool.
Too many storms.
Hey, it loops back around. It all comes together. Exactly. In my secret plot, they use too many of the same fucking words.
Too many cooks.
It does feel like that. It feels like that too. Like, I feel like we'll get to that later. Okay, so Storm of Chaos, right? It's a Warhammer fantasy event. It was basically like the fantasy equivalent of the original 13th Black Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one where it was like, you know, Abaddon invades Cadia, there's all these different factions, blah, blah, blah. So, Storm of Chaos, Warhammer fantasy. Like, Archaon the Everchosen is the big dick motherfucker of chaos. He's the undisputed lord of chaos undivided, blah blah blah. And he's coming down, he's here to smack everybody with his dick. And Games Workshop was like, and you're going to decide how this campaign goes. So go to your local Games Workshop, fight with your factions, write in what happened, right?
Yeah.
So, the writers had already apparently planned out that Archaon had won, basically. Like, he'd smashed through, like, all the factions and he was getting to Middenheim. What actually happened was that edition, Warriors of Chaos had just, like, gotten their codex update at the time of Storm of Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a lot of new players playing Chaos who sucked. And, Chaos had, like, powerful units and Chaos Demons had powerful units, but, like, you can have all the powerful units in the world, but if you don't know what the hell you're doing...
Yeah, Curbstone City.
You're probably gonna die. So you had all of these new players playing Warriors of Chaos and Chaos Demons and stuff against people who had their standby armies of, like, Dwarfs, Empire, Tomb Kings, Greenskins, that kind of thing. So the Warriors of Chaos got their fucking asses kicked. Like, every tier of the tournament. But here's the thing. Games Workshop had already had their pre-written thing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, what they did was they ignored the results.
Again.
And they said, and it's like, and these results were, like, posted online to basically the original Games Workshop website.
Oh, so it wasn't just that they got the results that we don't like these, we're just going to write something else. It were publicly available, and they ignored them.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, Archaon, the Warriors of Chaos were stopped at Kislev. No, they weren't. They actually got through. They were stopped at Ostland. No, they weren't. They got through. And it was like such a debacle because, like, the publicly available results were the Warriors of Chaos getting their shit kicked in at every single stage, but the writing team going like, no, they're killing everybody. It's fine. So, we get to the last stage of the Storm of Chaos, and Archaon is at Middenheim, and Volten is, or was, rather, the avatar of Sigmar.
Yeah, I remember this.
And Volten and Archaon fought, and Volten gets his ass kicked. And it seems like, oh shit, Archaon is gonna win. But then, Grimgor Ironhide comes out of basically nowhere.
Bear in mind, Grimgor's an orc, just for the record.
And Grimgor is supposed to be like the fantasy version of Gazkul. He's like he's the biggest, meanest, stupidest black orc motherfucker you've ever seen. He's got fucking horse steroids and he's the fucking best. And what he does is he basically kicks Archaon in the dick. Like, the Warriors of Chaos suddenly got ambushed by orcs during a big battle. And Grimgor, like, basically just headbutted Archaon in his stupid glitter helmet.
I guess you'd call that a Deus Ex Machina?
I hate you. So then Grimgor was like, Grimgor's the best! And then he wandered off. Like he literally just defeats Archaon, doesn't kill him. He just says, Grimgor's the best, and then he, like, fucks off. Also his wall was, like, destroyed during the fight.
How convenient.
Oh dear.
And also Manfred von Karstein showed up with a big undead army to, like, destroy, like, the Chaos Army and stuff. And he was poised to, like, take over the Empire, but then Volkmar the Grim came out and called Manfred a big baby, and Manfred went home to Sylvania.
What a coincidence.
So, yeah, Storm of Chaos, kind of a fucking shit show, top to bottom. You can probably find more detailed records, because, like, I did some research on this. I just think it's really fucking funny that, like, GW didn't just go, like, okay, we have this, we're going to make it an event, and, you know, basically just like Gathering Storm or the Indominus Crusade and stuff, and just be like, here is what happened. You know? But they were like, no, we have to try to make this a public event where the fandom can decide the course of the setting's history.
I think the reason behind that is because they did something similar with the third Battle of Armageddon, and that actually turned out really well. So I think GW just turned and said, "Hey, it went before. Let's try again."
Here's the thing, though. It comes entirely down to literal dice rolls. So, why would... Just because a dice roll came up good once does not mean it's going to come up good twice. And then you add in the new player surge of easy curb stompings, and then you add in the fact that you made it universe ending rather than just a planet, which 40k can get away with. Yeah.
That's kind of the thing with those sorts of events, and I don't think that GW has done that since, like, the 13th Black...
Konor.
I don't know. Huh?
The Konor campaign in Start of 8th edition.
I see. Okay, so I was mistaken. Like I said, I'm a bit out of touch with this
that was a campaign for one planet. Maybe 4 planets. One system. In Ultramar, which we already knew that they were going to take back anyway because it was in Plague War and stuff. So it didn't matter that much.
That's kind of the thing that that's one of these big problems I see with community like driven events like this is like it's an interesting idea to give the player base that kind of power because it can in theory make a player feel really involved with their setting, like their army and their guys are going to help change the course of the setting in a big way, you know? But the problem is, like you said, Tactica, it comes down to dice rolls. And dice rolls are not conducive to good storytelling sometimes.
Yeah.
Like with the Storm of Chaos, it's like, okay, Archaon comes down. He's the big dick motherfucker. He's basically the Warhammer Fantasy equivalent of the Antichrist, you know?
And he
comes down. I mean, he still is, but especially back then.
Yeah.
He comes down with, like, the armies of Chaos Undivided, like, the Khorne army, the Nurgle army, the Slaanesh army, the Tzeentch army. He comes down, and he's supposed to be this big threat. Well, as we just saw, the dice rolls indicated, no, he gets his fucking ass kicked out the fucking gate. And that's not a good story. That's not a good way to sell your models and your main villain.
Yeah, the big bad is coming. How will the world... Oh, they just beat him. I think if GW were going to do this sort of thing again, like, I think probably one of the better ways to do it is kind of just trick booking. Because they could easily set up, let's say, running over a year's worth of White Dwarfs, a series of connected battle reports that will decide the fate of XYZ system, sector, whatever. And they can write the battle reports, play the battle reports, and it will look, for all the world, like that's what actually happened on the table, and that's the way the dice went. But of course, they're not doing it live. They can fudge the numbers, and thus it goes the way they want. Where the community gets involved is in determining, say, how the battles play out, so which battles would be played. So I know White Dwarf's written way too far in advance for this to work, and I know that. But the idea of having the community, say, do a series of mixed battles and campaigns, they feed the results back to GW, and 70% is bad guys winning. Okay, so the bad guys are going to get a serious advantage in the next battle report, but they can still lose because we can fudge the dice rolls to make it like a desperate holdout because we need the plot to go in a certain direction. And I feel like if they're going to do it, because they can't afford to give that much creative control to the fan base. I hate to say it, I do, but in terms of how much control they need over the story and how many important characters are in play and how apocalyptic many of these things are, they can't give the community control. So they'd almost have to give us the illusion of control. Or, heck, maybe you can actually do it on Warhammer TV and do it as live battle reports, but it might not be as bad because it's only one game that changes the outcome rather than all the community events determining. I don't know. Maybe that's what they'll look into if they decide to do it again.
At least it's not as bad as Legend of the Five Rings got.
What?
Okay, so Legend of the Five Rings. It was a tabletop RPG and trading card game. The setting would be like determined by big card game tournaments. and this would like influence the next update or the next edition. And sometimes you would have people colluding with each other to make sure a certain result happened.
Yeah. Can see that.
Yeah. I don't know. I always think like, okay, look, writers, you have like a thing you want to do. You have models you want to push. Just fucking do this. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't leave the fate of the world up to a dice roll, because that can go really badly.
Yeah, especially in modern 40k, where there is a real mix of power gamers and casuals and all of that. And so unless you did it in a really controlled environment, it would be very hard to really get any reflection on what is actually happening, or, you know, were the games evenly stacked? And that's not even accounting for player skill, because, you know, some people are very, very good at this game, and some people are like me and haven't played it in over a year.
God, I haven't played fucking 40k tabletop in a bit, to the point I cannot talk about Chaos Space Marines again, because I don't know what 9th edition is like.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that. The last game I played was back in December 2019, and then I went back to work, got really busy, and as soon as I left that placement of work, that work placement, it was straight away lockdown and all the shops shut. And even when they reopened again, you couldn't go to store and play because they weren't allowing it. Or you could go with someone who you lived with. I don't live with anybody, so I've got no one to go with. Then they reopened Warhammer World, and I moved down to the county that Warhammer World is in, and I can't go because I've got no one that I live with. I nearly said because I've got no friends, but that would be a bit much. Because I know, like, if it was available, I could call up Sniping Wib or Scarlet or whoever, and we could probably get to Warhammer World for a game. But bubbles are a thing. I want to go to Warhammer World now. I did actually go. I think I've told the story before. I went for a school league back when I was 14, 15. Went for a school league event. Played fantasy. Bought some silver helms that I never finished. Didn't have a Bugman's because I think we all took a packed lunch with us just in case. Good day though. No, I've never. Apart from bloody. Spider Riders. Screw Spider Riders.
Spiders.
Yeah, they charge my dragon princes from behind. My lovely, shiny, super heavy cavalry dragon princes in the rear. Spider Riders beat them, ran them down, sweeping advance, killed the whole unit, and my shiny new cavalry were dead.
And
Womp womp indeed.
man, fucking imagine you're a dragon prince. You're this fucking elf who is arrogant even by elf standards. You got your fucking horse cosplaying a dragon. You have your dragon armor on. You got your dragon lance. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go kill some kids. Fuck it, I'm a dragon prince. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And then you get killed by a bunch of crackhead goblins on spiders.
Yeah, who just ran up behind you, jumped on you, and charged you down where you stood. Never forgiven Spider Riders for that.
I think like fucking like the funniest thing in regards to that could be like, okay, you're a Phoenix Guard, you're like the best of the best of high elf infantry, you have seen visions of your death. Imagine being the guy who knows that he is going to die because a night goblin fanatic hit him with his funny spinny ball.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't talk about it. You've taken that oath of silence. You have to like live with that knowledge that one day a night goblin's gonna be like, yeah, gotcha, and you're gonna get hit with a fucking ball and chain as he's just spinning around like a fucking top.
Yeah, I can think of more embarrassing ways to go, but as imagine it's like I'm going to die at some point from a goblin on mushrooms spinning around like a wrecking ball that's going to trip over on its own wrecking ball that's going to wrap around its own throat and also hit me in the face, and I'm going to die from that.
I guess you could be the guy who gets like stuffed into a giant's pants.
I mean, yeah, I would say there are worse ways, but I can imagine you think about that. You're just like, why did it? How? What? Why? Like, at least that's a conceivable, reasonable. Well, they're not reasonable, but
Assyrian, you fucking cock.
Yeah, you was looking up at the flame of Ascian and going, "What did you have against me? What have you got against me, man?"
First, you say that Malekith is the rightful king of the elves, and then you show me this.
Yeah, that was the thing in the end times. I remember that when they announced, "Oh, Malekith was supposed to be Phoenix King all along." The gods were just testing him a bit by burning him in the sacred flames and to see if he could take it. It's like, no! You've just torn up 30 years of canon for a throwaway line.
That is such fucking nonsense, because, like, Malekith made an entire culture based around slavery, rape, torture, casual sociopathy, psychopathic murdering, blood sacrifices to Cain, rage, Satan, just the worst. Being the worst.
Yep.
Except for the fucking Skaven.
And his own
and
mother.
Assyrian's like, yeah, no, that guy's cool. Yeah, he was supposed to be king.
Yeah. We were just...
It's like, Assyrian, are you fucking stupid? I think you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, we were just testing you, boy, to see if you could survive the purifying flames that caused you to be trapped in your armor forever as the Witch King. Never, ever able to heal.
You just should have stayed in for a little bit longer. I mean, you're a little bit crispy, but I mean, if you just stayed inside, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'm Assyrian.
I guess you say he'd be well done.
Yeah, he'd finally be well done instead of blue rare.
Yeah. I remember when End Times came out, because I was a high elf player back in Fantasy, and I remember reading that and just going, "You what?"
Yep, high
so
elves were...
Tyrion's now the bad guy, carrying around the bloody Widowmaker and working for Marathi, and Malekith's the Eternity King. What?
Also, Teclis is the worst, because they...
And he still is.
They character assassinated my boy Teclis, so...
And they still do, because he's a massive idiot in AOS. But
at least in the End Times canon, at least we got the cameo appearance from Caldor Drago.
That was, I think GW said, like, that wasn't Caldor Drago, that was like a Stormcast Eternal.
Yeah,
I know, but...
At the time,
yeah, but it's funny,
like,
it's funnier to say it's Caldor Drago, so... But then again, we also had the Skaven fucking maybe picking up an Eldar transmission.
Yeah. Well, do you remember with the Albion campaign, it's like, here's some magical artifacts. A chainsword, a hand flamer, and a vortex grenade.
Okay, I still thought that was... Well, okay, it's like, it's goofy, but it's still kind of interesting to just be like, oh, hey, the armor of invincibility. Oh, that's just power armor.
Yeah. The Fusel of Conflagrations, like, yes, that's a hand flamer.
You could have a fucking chaos.
Oh, was it the Gauntlet of Might, which was a power fist? The Gauntlet of Might.
Power fist.
I'm just imagining, like, fucking that still being, like, the thing that's, like, Archaon has, like, the Slayer of Kings and shit, and he's fighting some guy with just a power fist, and the power fist doesn't break when it gets hit.
Yeah, well, he's still carrying around the Slayer of Kings today on the back of his giant three-headed dragon.
I know, he's still got it, and now Dorger is a fucking three-headed dragon.
Yeah, because Slaanesh was not around, and he told the Great Horn Rat to do one.
Can't believe he told the Great Horn Rat to fuck off.
I mean, can you blame him?
Yes, the Skaven are the best because they're the worst.
Yeah, but do you really need the Great Horn Rat in the Pantheon, though? You know, he's a god that embodies disease and scheming, even though we have a god of disease and a god of scheming.
Yes, and
we really need one that embodies both.
And, to be honest, if anything, the Great Horn Rat doesn't just... it embodies that, but it also embodies just desolation and destruction. And I get that that's really right up Chaos's avenue, but...
Yeah, but Desolation and Destruction, that was kind of like, you know, Hashut's thing.
Well, remember, like, the Great Horned Rat has always been implied to be like, okay, the Great Horned Rat is all of the Chaos Gods, but, like, without any of their redeeming qualities. Like, none of the positives.
So like the modern Chaos Gods, then?
Yeah, it's the writers who forgot that Chaos Gods have good parts about them, and you're gonna need to play a Black Crusade game if you want to have that kind of nuance.
Or just go
as much
GTS.
nuance as Khorne can have, anyway.
Yeah, and to be honest, I still take TTS episode 19 as canon, just the way Magnus explains it. That is my personal headcanon about the Chaos Gods, always has been.
I mean, that's just like old lore. It's like, the Chaos Gods are, like, bad, but they're also like, well, without them, there's no honor or love or things like that. Like, it's a complicated system. And meanwhile, the Great Horned Rat was always like, well, he's Khorne's bloodlust without any of the honor and none of the fucking sparing non-combatants things. He's the rapaciousness of Slaanesh without anything of, like, appreciating it. He's Nurgle's disease without any of the hope. And he's the backstabbing scheming of Tzeentch without trying to make anything, like, without making any positive progress. The Great Horned Rat is just the worst aspects of chaos combined into, like, one thing.
Yeah.
What the fuck even is Hashut? Like, Hashut was always weird to me. He's just, like, there. But then again, the Chaos Dwarfs were not paid attention to all that much, which is... which can be unfortunate. It's like we have Chaos Space Marines, why not Chaos Dwarfs? We have the Empire, why not we got Warriors of Chaos for the Empire, man. Why can't we have Chaos Dwarfs for regular dwarfs? Come on, man.
I mean, there's the odd Chaos Dwarf and the odd Chaos Elf in the Warcry warbands these days. But certainly
I know they're getting Age of Sigmar stuff.
Well, sort of. We don't know if there's going to be a full Chaos Dwarf or Chaos Elf army one day. We don't know. I think there should be a Chaos Dwarf army. I don't think they're going to do Chaos Elves unless they decide to do, like, a Slaaneshi Elf faction or something.
Well, I was going to say that's just Marathi's faction, but...
No. Marathi hates Slaanesh so much that she committed a ritual to go into
like,
its
nah, and then I was like that for a second. I was like, nah, she's Cain. She's Cainite. She's Witch Elf.
She's called Marathi Cain now. She ate the Phoenix King's souls and is now Marathi Cain.
Wait, hold on. How would eating the Phoenix King's souls make her Cain?
Right. What they did was they fed the souls of Nurgle, Khorne, and Tzeentch worshippers to Slaanesh in order to give Slaanesh a stomachache and put it off while it was trying to deal with that.
Wait, hold on. I thought that Slaanesh had the stomachache because it ate elf souls.
It did. It was full because it ate elf souls. So it distracted Slaanesh and gave it sort of a bad reaction because you're feeding it its enemy's souls. Marathi uses that to commit a blood ritual and plunge her own soul back into the belly of Slaanesh where she was before. Goes in there, and this is my own personal headcanon, but she goes in and starts consuming the souls of, like, the most powerful entities in Slaanesh, the kings of old, almost, and consuming them to gain power and power and power and power, because bear in mind, the Phoenix Kings were the anointed of the elven gods, and so therefore were powerful in their own way, until she runs into someone she once knew, the soul of someone she once knew, someone she once loved. She hesitates and gets yeeted back out again so hard that she splits into two entire entities, Marathi Cain and the Shadow Queen. Now, I personally headcanon that to be she ate the Phoenix King's souls and then ran into Anarian, who Fus Rodard her into two halves. But that's headcanon.
Okay, so there's Marathi Cain and the Shadow Queen. Okay, that's a little bit.
Yeah,
that's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, so they're now two bodies, one soul. So when she was first spawned, every time she moved, the Shadow Queen moved in exactly the same way. And on the battlefield, they now share a joint health bar.
So like the Sisters of Twilight.
But the Sister Twilight was one model. This is two separate models that act entirely independently of each other, but have one shared wounds total between them.
I see.
It's a bit complicated, but yeah, that's Marathi Cain these days.
Are people still mad about Age of Sigmar?
Yeah.
Are we past that? Are we? It's been
No,
like
we're not.
Hasn't it been like 5 years?
People are still salty. Yeah, but some people are still salty about it.
Yeah, I mean, It's just I always come back to that one guy who burned their Dark Elves army after the old world died, and now the old world's coming back again because AOS was so successful that they've got the spare money to tell Forge World to go and reboot fantasy, and it's just like, well, it sucks to be you right now, ha ha, bloody ha.
Oh God. Anyway, welcome to Adeptus Podcastus, the world's greatest Warhammer Fantasy and Age of Sigmar podcast when I'm around.
I mean, to be fair, this is kind of normal for me to just ramble on about fantasy and AOS for far too long. It's got to the point
Meanwhile, Rem is just like, I want to... let me talk.
No, I'm fine.
God.
But we will now let you talk.
I'm going to say.
Oh, you cheeky fucker.
What?
Or did he go Australian for a
I was going to
second?
say, what accent was that?
I don't fucking know. I'll do an approximation of an islander's accent, but which island? Who knows? That's the...
Oh, do the Isle of Samoa.
No.
No.
I don't need to be I don't need to be cancelled on social media.
Yeah, let's try and not get anybody cancelled here. Right. Have you read, aside from Avenging Sun, have you had a chance to read anything else, Ram?
I managed to get through that short story that was from the Christmas 12 Days of Christmas thing. Short story called Emperor. Not Emperor, Emperor. Yeah, subtle difference, I know.
Right, go on.
It's a really interesting one because it's set on like a really primitive world in the Imperium, even though like all the tribesmen are basically working in factories for the Imperium, but still like a real primitive tribal culture. Like you have the tribe of like, you know, the munitioners and the tribe of like, you know, the woodcutters, tribe of, you know, the shell makers, blah, blah, blah. And it's basically after one shift one day, and you got this girl who works in the factory. She's going out hunting, try and find, you know, some food or whatever, and makes a note about how, you know, ever since, you know, the factory starts bringing up, the animals are getting rarer and rarer because, you know, everything's becoming so fucking polluted. And she stumbles across a heretic that's been hiding on the planet. Yeah, and the heretic explains that, oh yeah, you know, you keep making these massive, you know, giant, you know, ordnance bullet things for, you know, spaceships, whatever. What's a spaceship? A giant metal bird. Okay. Yeah, the giant metal bird, yeah. They're actually, you know, they're fighting against Emperor. You know, they're not their servant, so we need to try and stop them. And all the primitives are like, oh, we need to save Emperor. Okay, what do we do? Well, if you use this scrapcode data stick, I mean this magical stone, and go in the bullet, and when they come and collect the shipment, and go and use the magical stone, and that'll kill the evil giant bird so you can save Emperor. And basically, this poor person has basically tricked by the heretic to inflict a scrapcode virus on an Imperial vessel that's like carrying cargo and weapons to like back and forth between planets, and basically causes the ship to explode. All in the priestess like, oh, but we saved the Emperor, so it's all good. It's actually a really interesting short story in regards to like how like a more primitive feudal world views its place within the Imperium.
Yeah,
which is not really something you get much of. So
yeah, because it kind of sounds like
and I've probably cut out again, haven't I?
An industrial world that then societally regressed rather than a feudal society that evolved. Almost.
It's kind of like, it's a feudal society. The Imperium turned up, made some factories, like, oh, you're going to be working, and now, okay, pretty much.
Right.
Well, I guess it would like depend on, because it would depend on how the planetary governor wants to run things, because there is a world that I remember reading about, which is basically a feudal world. It's like medieval, and the Adeptus Mechanicus runs it, but they don't let the inhabitants have any kind of advanced technology, because they think that it will make them like that. It's basically like the ecclesiarchy doesn't want the Adeptus Mechanicus to give like these feudal worlders like advanced technology because it's like that's not their place. They have to remain spiritually pure for the emperor because they're devout. And the Adeptus Mechanicus is like, okay, but there's a lot of mineral wealth on this world. How are we going to do it? We need this for technology. So the ecclesiarchy is like, well, just give them mining picks. There you go. And it's basically like there's this factory on the world where like all of this ore is shipped to like begin to make things for orbital stations and munitions and stuff, but it is not mined with like, mining lasers or drills or anything. It is just manually made by feudal worlders with mining picks and carts and pulleys and stuff. And it is like a miserable back-breaking thing even for an Adeptus Mechanicus owned world.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like it just depends.
Yeah, because I remember reading in Knights of Macragge, is that its name? Yep, Knights of Macragge. Sicarius and his cohort land on a imperial world where society seems to have gone backwards. Like, they seem to have forgotten everything. Turns out it's actually the Necrons doing shenanigans. But that's what it kind of reminded me of. It's like a world that has forgotten what it used to be, who they used to be, what they used to be capable of, and have just fallen back on basic, primitive, almost instinct. Again, kind of, sort of.
It's also the Imperium. Everything's fucked.
Yeah, it's the Imperium. Everything is bleeped. Accurate summary.
Except if you live on a paradise world, I guess.
At which point your day is bleeped as soon as the Eldar come and take it back off you, because it was probably theirs.
I was gonna say it's like bleak when the fucking nobles show up and are just like, and now we're going to sew you together to make you into furniture.
Homunculi.
Oh, I don't even mean homunculi. I mean just like bored imperial nobles just going on vacation, just being like, I want to oppress the fucking commoners today. How can we do that?
Yeah. Actually, I saw, this is a bit tangential, but I saw a tweet today. I love how our community can just accept that there's a person called E, Big E, and all of this in one, and then everyone can just say, so everyone's talking about how Big E did this thing, and no, I'm not talking about the rest of the Big E, remember this before you interject. And he said that Big E and Emps did this thing, and everyone just knows who we're talking about. Like, there's so many acronyms that we have for everything, and everyone just knows exactly what everyone's talking about. We talk in acronyms. Sorry.
You said Big E, but I thought you said Big E, and it's like Biggie Smalls. What's going on now?
Biggie Langston.
Intercontinental champion of the world, or whatever else. Anyway. But yeah, it's the amount of acronyms, like, if you go onto forums, like, it's literally, you could read an entire forum thread, and aside from, the basic fundamental words of the English language, everything is just in acronyms. So you've got this CSM with a BG of S4 and AP -1, and all. And it's just like that does D1 to, and then you got your IG with a 5+ and a 6++. And this, all this, and it's entirely written in shorthand. It's like, and everyone knows exactly what they're talking about the entire time. You just write in shorthand.
It's fucking wild once you begin to understand terms. And it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna type in this thing that sounds like a fucking cyberpunk future slang.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like then you run into the problem of, well, there are some things that use the same terms. I'm trying to think of the one that always bothered me off the top of my head. It's like the fact that everyone can use the word SOB and everyone knows it's the Sisters of Battle, or SOS and it's the Sisters of Silence, and all of that, rather than anything else. Which is useful, very useful. Well, if you understand what's going on. If you're just trying to read a forum for the first time, you've literally just got to hover over, because Tactica had this, you could hover over all the acronyms and it would tell you what the acronyms meant. Literally, they had,
which is handy.
Yeah, they had a full glossary of this is what the acronyms mean on our site, so that you can follow along with any conversation if you just hover over them. And then they changed the Imperial Guard to Astra Militarum, and AM suddenly had two different things: Astra Militarum and Adeptus Mechanicus. And my fire alarm's going off. Right, apologies for the very loud noise you probably just heard. I'll do my best to trim it out in editing. My fire alarm went off. It was a false alarm. It's fine. I'm back in house and I'm safe. So don't worry about that if you were. So yeah, we will just, well, where were we? I've kind of lost track with going outside and all that. Where were we?
That is.
I don't remember now. It's been 84 years.
84 years.
Well, in all accuracy, it's been, how long's it been? It's been 25 minutes. So yeah, that's, and you two have already been chatting away while I've been gone. So yeah, I think. No,
he's been off doing his own thing. Whatever, he just buggered off.
Fair enough. So yeah.
I assume he went to get a sandwich or something, but.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, apologies if that conversation did get cut off. My bad. Well, not my bad. My fire alarm's bad. So shall we do some questions, do you think?
Yeah, can do. Given the time, we probably haven't got time for that many.
Because we've got about...
Plus the 25-minute interval.
You're going to want food pretty soon, aren't you? So yeah,
the people need to know.
Yeah. Yes, but the Remleiz needs the food.
Fair enough.
Damn right. I've been up since 3 a.m. Yeah. Give me a break.
That's to be fair. You've had some sleep. That's an improvement.
Yes. Right. There was one for you I saw earlier. I'm trying to get that one. Where is it? Bugger. Right. Question for Tactica. Do you think that Hamilcar's habit of screaming his own name like a Pokemon, a tradition of his tribe, or possible psychological damage from the reforging experience?
I don't think it's psychological damage. It feels like he was like that before, but I don't know if it's a tradition thing either. Wait for the next book if they commission Garma to write it, I guess.
So Hamilcar is a Pokemon. What typing is he?
Definitely electric ground. Because, like, War of Beasts, he's from the realm of beasts, so he's very much connected to, like, an animalistic type thing, but also lightning powers.
Fair enough. I probably would have gone for like steel electric or something because
electric steel. But then again, who wants
fighting
to be
electric?
Yeah, but fighting electric's a unique typing. Actually, I think that's a unique type.
I think ground electric is impossible because like ground.
No, this is the thing.
Stunfisk.
Fuck.
It's a thing.
Well, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, it's a thing. It was a thing. It was in Gen 5, I think they introduced it. Yeah.
5.
Well, that'll explain it. I have not paid attention to Pokemon since Platinum.
Which we're in the middle. I think apparently they're remaking Gen 4.
They are, yeah. For the Switch.
Fantastic.
Right. Where's the next one? Can someone talk to Grandfather Nurgle to stop Steve Carino? I'm pretty sure everyone's already started, but Nurgle's probably saying, no, more Steve Carino for everyone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. What happened to the other old world gods like Auric and Tal in AOS?
Oh, okay. So if we're going to believe the end times, apparently all of the old gods and the elf gods, and basically every god that wasn't a chaos god or a demon prince or the Great Horned Rat or Hashut, was apparently a survivor of the previous iteration of the universe that had managed to just cross over and attained godhood through that. So I believe in specific, all the old gods and things like that were eaten by chaos, except for the Nehekaran gods that were eaten by Nagash. I know for sure that Urushen and more were devoured by Nagash, at least. I think everyone else is just kind of dead because of chaos.
Yeah, it's a combination of Nagash did it or Chaos did it. Either way, they're gone.
Or both.
So, fuck you, Ulrich, I guess.
Which is a shame, really, because I quite like the Knights of the White Wolf, or I think it was the Knights of the White Wolf was their name.
Right. how would the Imperium fare if the Nighthaunt from Age of Sigmar were to invade the 41st millennium?
Ghosts invade, semi-spiritual ghosts that feed off fear. Oh, they're going to run absolutely rampant because basically you have to, only those who strike true and with actual confidence are going to stand a chance. They feed on fear.
I mean, like, I'm pretty sure 40k already has ghosts and shit that get killed, so I imagine that, like, 40k would win out, probably. Like,
oh yeah, 40k always wins. 40k wins everything. But
which is boring.
Yeah, but depending on where they were, the Nighthaunt are definitely a problem for a lot of the 41st millennium, because if you don't believe in it, you ain't going to kill it, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Has there ever been any instances of a Dark Mechanicum demon prince?
Not that I know of.
There's been demon princes that have weird mechanical stuff to them, but to my knowledge, no one in the Dark Mechanicus has managed to ascend. That we know of, that's been written about.
That we know of, yeah.
You'd think the Fabricator General from the Horus Heresy would have been the one to do it, but I guess
we don't know what happened to Kelbor Hal. We don't know a thing about him.
Yet. I thought he was still alive.
He might actually still be alive. I'm not even sure.
But again, maybe the Dark Mechanicus and Heretics and stuff just don't do the whole demon ascension thing. Maybe they just keep slapping machine parts onto themselves and sticking demons into those machine parts.
I was going to say, they shove demons into the machines, so they're clearly not averse to using demonic technology.
But they probably see it as some sort of, like, hyper-advanced, fucked-up science rather than religious, magical things.
True.
After just briefly looking up Kelbor Hal on Lexicanum, it says that his ultimate fate remains unknown.
Good. So wait for the end of the Siege of Terror and hope, I guess.
Yeah. He gets kicked in the dick.
A nasty motherfucker if he's still around.
Actually, I got sent a question on Twitter that I couldn't really answer. Well, I tried to answer it, but I'm not really sure, so I thought I'd raise it here. Do the Imperial Guard have an equivalent of the Legion of the Damned, the St. Celestine, the Sanguinor, where there's some sort of unknown entity spawned from belief in the Emperor that appears and helps them in their direst hour?
The writing team.
Yeah, Living Saints and Legion of the Damned.
Yeah.
They come and help them in their darkest hour.
Yeah,
I mean, like, wasn't there in Dark Imperium when the fucking, when the psychic storm happened, or what? Like, the psychic awakening things happened, like, a bunch of, like, quote-unquote miracles started happening for the Guard, and they thought it was, like, religious, the Emperor watching over them shit, when it's probably just like, oh, a bunch of people that were psychers just suddenly started shooting lightning and shit.
There was the little girl that was, like, acting as a conduit for the Emperor himself.
Oh, that was Plague War, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was weird.
But that could just be true faith.
Yeah. My best answer is, to be honest, that's probably how they see the Space Marines. It's like the Emperor's angels descending from the heavens in the darkest hour to salvage the war and win it.
Except if you're Grey Knights, in which case you're going to die.
Or if you're Dark Angels.
Or Marines Malevolent.
Or Dark Angels, or the Blood Angels if they get mad.
Marines Malevolent.
Or the Flesh Terrors.
Basically, there's a lot of Space Marines that are gonna not be what you want to show up.
Oh, that just reminds me of the ending of Cult of the War Mason. Because, like, during that story, I was like, Sister Battle and Night Lords, Sister Battle, Iron Warriors, and Gene Stealer cults basically having like a freeway fight on this world. And at the end of the book, you got a Planetary Covenant saying, like, oh, we're getting some loyal Space Marines, some proud and noble warriors of the Imperium. Which chapter? The Flesh Terrors.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the end of Wrath of Iron, the old Space Marine Battles novel, where at the end, the Iron Warriors have managed to beat back the Slaneshi demons invading the world, and then the final epilogue is the Guardsmen who you've been following this entire book, well, in snippets anyway, because it's a Space Marine book, you've been following around, they're just sheltering away in a bunker, and in comes Clan Rorkan, or Clan Avernii, and boom, boom, you're dead. Just cleansing the whole world as they go.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey guys, maybe the Imperium's not the good guys. Maybe the Space Marines aren't the good guys.
Yeah, just noticed now.
There's a lot of people who haven't fucking noticed you've been on the internet.
I know.
Right. Is the eye colour of the elves in Warhammer all black, or have eyes like humans and dwarves, or both?
Okay.
For example, in Vermintide and Blood Bowl 2, they're black, but in Total Warhammer, they're white with coloured irises.
Okay, so if I had to guess, I would say the fact that Carillion has black eyes in Vermintide. I think that would be a Wood Elf specific thing, and I think that was just made to emphasize how alien in nature the Wood Elves are, even in comparison to, like, the other elves. In, like, official artwork, in video games, in everything else, like, elves just have regular people eyes.
Yeah,
So,
like the modern models, the Lumineth, the Daughters of Cain, they have regular eyes.
Yeah. So it's probably an artistic license kind of thing to emphasize how alien Carillion is.
Fair enough. And I'll do one more just because of the time. Is it possible that after spending so long in the warp, Leman Russ could have succumbed to the curse of the Wolfen if he's still alive?
That's pretty popular headcanon, to be fair. There's probably a lot of people who think Ross is just going to come back as some giant mutated wolf beast thingamabob.
I mean, considering what happened to Corvus Corax in the warp, where he became like a literal cloud monster that can turn into an entire flock of birds
and beat Lorgar's ass.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's not exactly
I
what
know,
achieved.
Lorgar's duty in 30k is to make other people look cooler.
and yet, Lorgar managed to beat the shit out of Fulgrim.
That's not an accomplishment. Fulgrim sucks.
Demon Fulgrim as well.
Fulgrim beat the ever-loving bejesus out of Guilliman, who beat the ever-loving bejesus out of one of Alfarius or Omegon.
Okay, let's go down the power list. Like, okay, Guilliman is not a good swordsman; he is a good statesman, and Alfarius is a little baby Primarch. So Guilliman beating him, that's like whatever. It's a Primarch beating a Primarch.
So not Alfarius, Omegon,
and
because Dawn killed Alfarius.
Yeah. So Fulgrim killing Guilliman when he is a demon Primarch is not that surprising, considering that Fulgrim was also supposedly one of the better duelists among the Primarchs, and now he has 4 arms and 4 swords, and
yet you have no problem with him being beeped out by Lorgar.
Okay, look, Lorgar was like fucking built up as like, oh, he's the Urizen, he's a big psychic dumb powerhouse, he's the big man. But we all know what Lorgar being the big man was supposed to represent, because big man Lorgar was then beat up by Horus after Horus went into the mystery box and came back as like big Horus.
Horus. It's like Horus, but with an video.
God, that was so. I really do think that's dumb. It's like, oh, hey, Horus just went into this secret mystery box that the Emperor also went into, and that's how the Emperor became so powerful. But now Horus is that powerful. It's like, what the fuck is... How does no one know about this shit?
Mind wiping. Wasn't that the basis
I think,
of the story?
I think
Horus goes like, I just unlocked some memories that were hidden.
Horus did go there with the Emperor, and he got his mind wiped by the Emperor. It's like, now I'm going to go into the mystery box and become the big.
The big.
Yeah, he becomes the big.
I am the big. I am the big.
Fucking...
And let's not remember that Dawn also beat the shit out of Fulgrim so hard that Fulgrim threw a tantrum and left Terra.
I mean, Perturabo also beat up Fulgrim by smashing his head into a 40k model.
Yep, and Kurz ripped Dawn to pieces when he was imprisoned, just to keep working up the tiers.
Yep.
I mean, Gilliman also almost got killed by 2 Alpha Legionnaires with, like, just regular bolters back on Ultramar. But he also didn't have his armor on,
Yeah,
and
but-
it was like an ambush, but still. It's
And
like...
then he gets spaced and he's
As well-
fine.
Oh, speaking of the ambush, can we just take a moment to appreciate how damn strong his desk was? Because it was just a wooden desk deflecting bolter rounds. It must have been made of mahogany or something.
It's a desk made for a 10-foot tall superhuman. They had to, like, really get the good wood out.
I was going to say, like, Gilliman just casually leaning on his desk would crack most standard wooden desks.
What if it's like it's just like made out of like rockcrete or something, and they like put a wood like layer over it?
Yeah, it's ceramite with mahogany veneer. Something stupid.
I really want to just have one day a Primarch just kill someone with a desk, just like lift it up and just chuck it at him like a javelin.
Yeah, I don't know why that just brought to mind bloody Mordin Solus from Mass Effect 2. Kill people in many ways. Tech attacks, guns, once with farming equipment. Just like all this. Just like, yeah.
I'm just reminded of one of the opening scenes in Redemption Corps, where you had an Imperial Guard stormtrooper beating the shit out of 3 Sisters of Battle, where he's just in his underpants and he's using a chair.
How? It's
fantasy booking.
Man,
But again, that's also the same book that had a Sister of Battle die by being squashed by a fat man.
The Imperial Guard, the magical 40k fanbase that can ruin any discussion about it. That's my.
They're still better than Space Wolf and Imperial Fist fanboys.
You're not incorrect. God, which Imperial
and Grey Knight fanboys as well.
Do those exist?
Oh yeah.
Still?
Oh yeah.
I thought Grey Knights were like
Yeah,
bad
surprisingly.
now. Or that's like
you still got a lot of people standing
I
them.
guess.
Like you say anything bad about them, they get super defensive.
In my experience, people being weirdos about like that kind of thing tend to be people that play Krieg Imperial Guard. But that's a discussion for another day, because Remleiz needs to get
nourishment.
Some takeout.
No, I got stuff to
It's
cook.
9 p.m. here. The chance of getting it, well, actually, I nearly said the chance of getting a half decent takeout at this hour.
Look, I'm American. Our restaurants are open irresponsibly late. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but generally,
we need food because we're so fat.
Actually, I saw a video comparing, just speaking of takeout and food, the difference in portion sizes between Amaki D's in the UK and the US, and it was absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah, you guys just don't eat in comparison.
Yeah, our bloody large is
Disconnected.
only just bigger than your bloody small or something like that, and you get 33% more calories in a large meal with yours than we do. But yeah, that's the thing.
America.
And now you've made me think of Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, which came back this weekend. That was great fun to watch. Anyway, I think we should probably call it a night so that Remleiz can get his food. So, thank you everyone for watching this slightly disjointed toward the end episode of Adeptus Podcastus, and we do hope you have enjoyed it. And thank you very much to Fresh for joining us. It has been a pleasure to speak with you in a long-form conversation that wasn't interrupted by memes.
Well, give it time.
That much.
Okay, yeah, that much. Fine. But either way, if you have any questions for us for next time, please do leave them in the comments below with the word question, and we will endeavour to answer as many as we can next time, depending on how we go. And hopefully I'll get to talk about some books, because my Black Library order will arrive, and that'll be lovely. So with all that said, thank you very much for watching. This has been Tactica Imperialis.
This has been Remleiz from 40k Theories.
And this has been Fresh, also known as the Fresh Sorcerer, also known as the person that's going to fucking be under your bed tonight, stealing your toes.
And on that, we will end. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all.
Bye.
Goodbye.